to the Blue White Breakdown. If you've been here before, and hopefully you have, you know that this is the Thursday live session. What you might realize is different, though, and that is not always like this on Thursdays, is that's Bob Flounders next to me instead of Johnny McGonigal.
Yeah.
Bob, I know, is absolutely amped up to be doing the live show on Thursday this week. Johnny is out in Mobile, Alabama, covering the Senior Bowl for us here at Penn Live. He's doing a lot of good Eagles work, a lot of good Penn State work. I think there are 5 guys down there, Bob, 5 or 6.
I think
Nick
3
Singleton.
defensive players and 2 running backs for sure. I know that
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, so there's 5 Penn State guys out there. Make sure you're following along. Johnny's done great stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've seen, what we've heard about the Senior Bowl here at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But the bulk of this one today is going to be about Penn State's schedule. We've been in a little bit of a lull as far as news goes for Penn State after the absolute blitz of the transfer portal, and now we've got something to discuss. The schedule is out. Bob had a story up on Penn Live on Tuesday night when it released, and today we're going to dive right into it. But Bob, before we get there, just give me your first reaction. This is probably only your second or third time being on the live show, so it's got to feel pretty good.
It doesn't feel good. It feels great. One thing I did notice for people who are watching, but they don't, unfortunately they're just listening, is I really feel like now that we're almost out of January, my mood has really picked up because it was between the transfer portal and the snow and the bitter cold. I was a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but I am back to feeling like my old dangerous self. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to Max. You know, a sure sign that we're getting closer to spring practice is the second signing day is Wednesday, but we also are going to get a chance to talk to, knock on wood, Matt Campbell and his assistants. I'm super pumped about that. Haven't heard from him. It will be almost 2 months. He's been a busy guy. I don't really ever get a chance to go on live. So be careful of what you wish for, Max. Just be careful what you wish for. I can't take anything back. Nothing can be edited. I could get in a lot of trouble.
Look, I think a lot of people can probably relate to their mood being picked up a little bit. I mean, the temperatures are still in the dumps, but the snowstorm is it's still got some effects here and there, but mostly in the rearview mirror. And one of the best things, the days are noticeably getting longer. The sun goes down a little later every day. So those things are great. But maybe the most clear symbolism that we are nearing some spring football, some baseball season is that the Big Ten schedule has released. And look, Bob, we've mentioned it many times on this podcast ever since Matt Campbell was hired, that Penn State has a pretty manageable group in 2026, but we didn't know how it would line up. And look, obviously nothing changed as far as it being manageable, but I think there is at least like the worst case scenario kind of happened with all these opponents that they had. And I'll get into what I mean by that. But just to run through it right off the top, week 1 is Marshall at home, Temple on the road. That'll be a fun one over in Philly. Buffalo at home, Wisconsin at home. You know, they fired James Franklin, and then they finally started in the Big Ten at home. I know that was something he fought for a long time. He's probably kicking himself, but so they get Wisconsin at home to open the Big Ten slate. They go at Northwestern. One thing, I wish Penn State would have gotten a Wrigley game when Northwestern was under construction. That would have been really cool, but it didn't happen. They'll get USC at home. Then they'll go to Michigan on the road in back-to-back weeks. Bye week, finish up at home against Purdue, and then on the road at Washington. Bob, you had some takeaways that you put on the site. Lay them on me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, unless you want to be a little bit picky, and Penn State fans typically are, I don't know that you could have drew it up much better than the way it played out for Penn State. Is it 100% ideal? No, but I mean, considering who was on the schedule, considering when they're playing these teams on the schedule, considering how Penn State's regular season and Big Ten season start, and considering how their Big Ten season finishes, I mean, I think in terms of what Penn State's trying to accomplish in Matt Campbell's first year, I think they got the schedule they need to kind of hit the ground running. I think if you're a Penn State fan, There is at least one signature home game.
Mm-hmm.
The heavy hitters are not on the schedule, as we talked about. I think Penn State, I think was very fortunate with this schedule. We can get into some of the specifics, but I think things broke very well for Penn State.
Yeah, they absolutely did. I mean, you don't have to play Ohio State, Indiana, or Oregon. That right off the top is huge. Obviously, Michigan has Kyle Whittingham in place now, who is a very good football coach and has had a lot of success at Utah. Washington could have a good team. They got Damon Williams back after that fiasco. But all in all, I mean, even the home road splits are fairly favorable. Michigan's the tough one on the road. But as you mentioned, Bob, the signature home game, that's USC on October 10th. Barring being big noon, that one should and probably will be the whiteout, which will be interesting. I mean, the Trojans coming to Happy Valley is not a typical thing until they became a part of the Big Ten. Somebody in the chat did mention that Penn State opened at home against Oregon with Big Ten play last year. Yeah. Yes, it did happen, but I was just making a joke for those who are really in the weeds and know James Franklin hated opening on the road in the Big Ten every year. It's happened before. I'm just being facetious. But yeah, I mean, the only hangup that I was mentioning at the start is you have to play USC and Michigan in back-to-back weeks, which they're the two toughest opponents on the schedule. You can make an argument for Washington at the end of the year, but I think when you look at it on paper, USC and Michigan are the big ones. And you have to play them back to back. You do get the bye week afterward, which helps quite a bit if you deal with any injuries at that time. But that is maybe the only part of the schedule that you can say, well, that's not ideal.
Yeah, and I think it's also noteworthy to point out to the fans in case I think this is a little bit of a big deal. Just one bye week this year, not two, as that's been kind of been the case I think the last couple of years. Not that it's a big deal, but it kind of. I mean, considering what they're trying to do with the playoff and all those things, I don't know that there's going to be many double bye weeks moving forward. I would say this, the Michigan USC back-to-backer is certainly going to be challenging. But when you throw in the fact they're not playing the 2024 national champ this year's national champ, and maybe next year or this fall. Maybe Oregon could be the 2026 national champ. That's a big deal. I would also say that I still think that, when you look at the schedule, when you look at Matt Campbell just trying to get started, I think it helps that one of the non-conference games is the road game, so it's only 4 Big Ten road games. The other thing is I really like the fact that the opener is against Wisconsin. Nothing against the Badgers, but that's going to be a big challenge for them to come in to Beaver Stadium and try to win a game. I think it's going to be very tough. If they had opened at Michigan or even had USC as the opener, I think that would have been. I think I would prefer it this way, honestly. I think you can live with the Michigan USC back to back, given all that. And I do think one thing about. I hope it's the whiteout only because I know there's so much TV money. But to make USC play what would be like in essence a 9 a.m. kick for them if it was a big noon game, I just think that is incredibly, incredibly unfair. And I think if you're a Penn State fan and you're going to get USC coming in here, you want them at their rested best. You don't want them jet lagged. I mean, I don't think you should ever make a West Coast team travel 3 time zones to play. Early in the morning. So I'm hoping that's not under consideration. I think it's a fantastic game. Plus the Danton Lynn going against his former team. He's a Penn State guy. He's not a USC guy. I just think the finish to it, the start of it, the non-conference schedule, including on the road against a bad Temple team. I mean, if you're gonna give it a letter grade on what this schedule in terms of the impact it could have on Penn State. And the way the season is shaped up, it's a B+ at the minus, and you could a B+ at the very worst, and I could even consider giving it an A. I just think everything broke very well for Penn State.
Yeah, absolutely. You made the point. I agree. I think it's a little messed up to make a West Coast team play at 9 a.m. Their time. They've done some stuff. Teams usually travel on Thursdays now, so it does knock it out a little bit, but that game, in my opinion, absolutely should be the whiteout. There are no other home games that really rise even close to the level of USC. The Trojans, as always, could be very up and down. Who knows if they have the season that they expect? But they've got an intriguing group, a lot of offensive talent, a lot of young talent. They should be a challenge. And to your point about opening with Wisconsin and then Northwestern as well, two games that I think Penn State will be, very, very favored to win. Neither of those teams have been particularly great here in recent years. I agree. I think that's a big deal because it was hard for Penn State to open up with Oregon this year. And it's true every season, but especially in a year where you have 50 new players via the transfer portal, you're going to need a little bit of time to make sure that they all gel together and figure out what's going on. I think that's a big deal that they're able to not ease into it because you got to win every game, right?
Yeah.
But it's a big deal that you have some time to kind of figure things out. That's always what the cupcake non-conferences are for, but at least the Big Ten's a little more physical, a little more challenging. You get athletes of the same size. I think that's important. So I'm with you, Bob. I think I'd go ahead and just give it an A. I mean, maybe an A minus because of the back-to-back with USC and Michigan, but it's very favorable. The game I think that intrigues me the most on this one, and I'm curious if you agree with me, is that Washington matchup because I've never been out there, but I've heard fantastic things about Husky Stadium. I think the way that that building is designed, the noise kind of like gets trapped in, and it's a lot louder than what you would expect for the number of people that are there. And I think that they'll have a solid team. I'm not saying they're going to compete for the playoff necessarily, but they were ranked pretty much all year this year. Jed Fish has done good things at Arizona and at Washington so far. That is certainly the one that intrigues me the most outside of the two big-time marquee ones.
Yeah, Max, I got not one, not two, but three things for you. First of all, I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but I am kind of a little bit. I just am trying to imagine like how well that quarterback was received after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That had to have been awkward city, especially given how he broke the news to the team. I read that story, and I hope that they can put that in the rearview mirror. But that is a little bit crazy. He is a talented kid. The two things I wanted to say were looking at this schedule. The other two things I wanted to say, actually, two more things. I don't even know that you can make a case for a trap game on this schedule. The way that it's played out, Washington will be tough. But ahead of that, Penn State's on the bye 2 weeks out, and then they get Purdue at home. So they should be comfortable and confident, I would say, going into that game. And when I look at that schedule, you never know. There's always could be a surprise, but there's been very little surprising, Max, about teams like Maryland and Rutgers at the end, Minnesota coming into Beaver Stadium. I am struggling right now to come up with a potential trap game for Penn State, and I think that is a good thing. I could be surprised, but I really don't see it. And one last thing I just wanted to say, that October 3rd game at Northwestern, I don't know where they are in the construction of that new stadium. I have not kept up on it. I heard it's fabulous. I mean, that would be pretty cool if that thing was ready. Yeah. And if it is ready, Penn State fans, it might not be. First of all, it's a road trip to basically Chicago, which is my favorite city. And then number two, if that thing's ready, I think I would have that pretty high on my list of bucket list appearances, just because of those two factors. I'm kind of sneaky excited about them playing out there, especially, Max, early in the year, so there's no freezing Chicago cold weather. Those are just, but I don't know. I struggle to find a trap game on the schedule.
If I was gonna pick one, and I agree, I think it's tough to get one because like the one difficult back-to-back is two teams that you expect to be difficult.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make one, it might be Minnesota at home right after the road trip to Washington, because that trip across to the West Coast is difficult. Yeah. They've done many things to make it easier. They've done tons of research, but it's still a factor that is a thing you got to do. And Minnesota, we learned 2 years ago when Penn State was a semifinal team. We've learned a lot of times over the years in Penn State Minnesota matchups that PJ Flex teams play hard. That they can surprise you very easily. So if there was one, I'd go with that. But also, I mean, we're a long ways from the season, but I would favor Penn State by probably 2 scores at least over Minnesota right now. There's a lot can change before that, but that's where I'm at right now. And to your
Go
ahead.
I didn't interrupt. Go ahead.
I was just going to say to your point about Northwestern and the road trip basically to Chicago. Yeah. Look, you can double up and you could go see a Cubs playoff game because they're going to be in October this year again anyway.
You should have said that out loud.
I got a wooden table. I'm knocking on it right now. Don't worry. Okay. But yeah, it's a great schedule. I think, there are good road trips on here too for fans that like to schedule it out. Michigan's the big one. The Big House is fun. And Washington and then Northwestern. I mean, those are 3, fairly Northwestern as far as the football team goes isn't necessarily a marquee destination. But to your point, the city is great. And Temple going across the state to Philadelphia is a unique one too that we haven't talked about a whole lot just because it's a non-conference matchup.
Yeah. That Minnesota game also, I just want to for high school football fans, Anthony Smith is from Shippensburg High School. I thought he was going to come out. He was a terror in the Big Ten last year, a big edge rusher. Actually, 2 years ago, he had maybe his best game of the year when Penn State escaped Minnesota in that 1-point win. I think if he takes one more step, he's a first-round pick. I'm actually very excited to see him go against the Penn State offensive line. Had a chance to talk to him in Vegas when the Big Ten media days were out there. Very refreshing kid. He was a 3-sport athlete at Chip. He was a tremendous basketball player, but very, very interesting guy. And he's on the short list. He's on the short list for maybe Big Ten Defender of the Year, if that's still a thing. Like he is that good. He's very good. I'm excited to get a chance to see him play, especially he's going to be fired up to come back to his home state. So that's just one thing I'm going to point out in advance. Hopefully he stays healthy, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, without a doubt, great player. Minnesota will be, though, without Coy Parrish, who's been an absolute superstar there the past 2 years. Really good safety. They tried him at wide receiver this past year, too, but he's transferred to Oregon, which was a massive deal and a big loss for the Gophers. So that is a detractor for that game. Bob, I think the last note that I have on the schedule before we move on to some Senior Bowl talk, or as a reminder, this is the live edition of the Blue White Breakdown.
Let's get some questions.
Yeah, if you guys are listening, if you're part of the audience right now, fire away at Bob. He's ready. He's here. He's here for whatever you want to know. Yeah. And but the last note I have is I got to know about Matt Campbell's relationship with Mike Locksley at Maryland, because we're not going to have any more.
You're stirring the pot now.
We're not going to have any more. Who knows? Maybe we will, but maybe we won't have any more declined handshakes at midfield, and that one's on rivalry weekend at the end of the year. So that's a big storyline that I'm watching.
Yeah, I made sure I put that picture of those two glaring at each other in one of the stories I wrote on the schedule, because I talked to Joe Hermit was on the field, and I talked to some other people. That was there were some hard feelings. I mean, for Penn State fans that don't remember, I think Bo Prabula threw a touchdown pass to Tysir Denmark. Neither one of them still at Penn State.
That's true. That's true.
I think it was on the last game, and there were some pretty hard feelings about that. But even ahead of that, Max, I mean, what Penn State had done to Mike Locksley teams, it was just It was a very, very, very one-sided game when Locksley was on one side and James was on the other.
Yeah, Bob, good question we just got here. I'll also mention we've got – so the question is from Jared Clock, and he said he likes the schedule. He thinks it's probably 10-2 or 11-1. I tend to agree on paper. I mean, there's a lot we got to figure out, but I think the floor for this team is probably 9 wins. It's possible. A lot can change with a new team, but projecting out, I'd probably agree the floor might be 9 wins, but Bob, his question that I'm going to pull up on the stream here is, do we have any insight on blue-white weekend? I know the spring game is up in the air if it will happen. The thing I'll say is we don't have a date yet, and the format could be, who knows? But I am anticipating that there will be something.
Yeah, I think there will be a version of the game. It had become pretty watered down even late in James Franklin's tenure. I mean, it's a trend now in college football. You just, especially for good teams that are participating in the playoff, that are just beat to hell, like Penn State was after making it to the semis. I think that was something that there was a little bit of a lingering thing there, and I do think it is wise to not do too much as far as, and what I would say about about this Penn State team. Yeah, they didn't make the playoff, but Matt Campbell invested heavily in a lot of Iowa State guys and a lot of veteran guys, either from Iowa State or from some other schools. And I just think that he's gonna have to strike a balance between developing his young guys, but I don't know how many. I just don't know how many of the guys that he brought in that were all Big 12 players or established players or in their fourth or fifth year. How much Penn State fans were actually going to see them it feels to me like anymore. My guess, Max, would be if you're Penn State and you're Matt and you're Pat Kraft and you're talking about all the money you just invested in bringing all these players, a lot of them veterans here, and retaining talent that is either in the second, third, or fourth year. I don't want to compare it to the Pro Bowl, or I think it's going to be more of a skills competition almost than anything. Because there is really no upside. The last blue-white game there actually was, I think it was a running clock, and I think for two of the quarters they kind of did hit a little bit, but you didn't really see anyone of note on the field for very long. I think if you're a Penn State fan, you just want to go see Matt Campbell. You want to go see, Rocco throw the ball a little bit. You want to see some of those guys run around. You want to see the new running back, but you don't want to see too much of them. They're not going to hit you. And actually, you're just hoping for some nice weather, some nice tailgating weather, and get together with your friends and families. But I do anticipate a blue-white weekend. I just don't think you're going to see a lot of unless it's a first-year player or maybe a second-year player. I just don't think you're going to see a lot of the transfer guys, especially the older transfer guys and the veterans that decided to come back.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think across the country, you're seeing how teams are treating the spring game, as whether they're not televising it because they don't want film of their young guys to get out, or if they're just not doing a game altogether, if they're doing practice, whatever it is. The teams are all kind of in agreement that this is not what it used to be, but it is valuable to the community in a really big way. And yes, Matt Campbell is new, but the administration, Pat Kraft, a lot of the people working behind the scenes are not, and they aren't going to touch a chance to get 60 to 70,000 people in State College. There will be something.
Yeah.
What exactly it is, TBD. Maybe they have a meet and greet. Who knows? But there could absolutely be any number of things. But there will be an excuse to get up here to State College and see something with the football team. I'm very confident in that. We got another question, kind of similar but a little bit adjacent, Bob, from R. Graw. I'll get it up on the screen. Let's put football off to the side. 2 major hockey matches and a major wrestling match. Don't forget about the men's basketball team on Sunday, because that's everybody's favorite team right now. Are they going to look to do more weekends like this in the future? The one thing I'll say before I let you roll with it, Bob, is I did ask Guy Godowski this week, the men's hockey coach, about doing the Beaver Stadium game again in the future. And he said, to his knowledge, there had not been discussions. I wouldn't rule it out by any means. I think it's going to be a huge success this weekend. But right now, that's not at least not in the plans that have been shared with him.
Yeah, I don't think you can really look. I mean, what people have seen it up, the preparation to get Beaver Stadium ready for this. It's a really cool thing that they're doing. Fingers crossed that the weather isn't too bad in terms of the chill, but there's a lot that's gone into this. I do think it will be back. I don't think I can't see it being a yearly thing, but what I could see is an NHL game.
Yeah,
Up at Beaver Stadium, which would
absolutely.
be cool, especially if it's the Flyers and the Penguins. I
Yeah.
will keep that. I think that is definitely something they would like to do. But I do think there will be some variation of stacking a really good wrestling match on a Friday or Saturday with some really, really good hockey,
Hmm.
whether it's the men or the women or both, because I got news for you. The Penn State wrestling team is going to be elite for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And with what
Yeah.
Penn State has invested in their hockey program and how they're playing now, and, I could see, something similar with the hockey team. So Pennsylvania with the Flyers and the Penguins and, this part of the country, there's a lot of hockey fans and there are a lot of Penn State wrestling fans that just are. So I would, if I'm Penn State, I'm having at least one, if not two, of these kinds of weekends, especially in January and February, just because I think it's something for the fans to look forward to. I also think it does wonders for the state college community in terms of, you know, restaurants and bars and hotels, and I
Right.
think it's a really cool experience. My only question would be how likely it would be to pull off an outdoor game, not one but two. I mean, I
Hmm.
just think it's a pretty heavy lift, but I think hockey, wrestling double headers. Maybe there'll be a day, Max, where there's basketballs involved, but it won't be. I don't know if it'll be next year. I think they're here to stay, and I'm here for it. And I'm really I'm happy for the success of not only Kale's team, just because I think it's very well earned, but also what Guy and some of the people around the hockey team program have done. I'm happy to see them get paid off for all of the stuff they've invested in those hockey teams.
Yeah, absolutely. On board with you on all of that. The men's and women's hockey teams are both ranked in the top 5
Yep.
nationally.
Yep.
But like there's some serious talent on both sides. The men's team too. I think the story is pretty well known among people who follow it
Yep.
about they were a club sport for a long time, and then get the investment from Terry Pagula to build the arena to help it transition to a Division One full time varsity sport. And this year, I mean, Guy Gadowski has put together good teams in the past. They won a Big Ten tournament, in the late 2010s. But this year is just completely different. They capitalized on the opening of the CHL
Yeah.
to the NCAA. They got probably the number one pick in the NHL draft this summer. Just they've done a great job. The
Yeah.
talent is immense. Guy Gadowski's doing a good job, and the fact that this coincides where you get a top 5 women's hockey team playing in the stadium as well. You mentioned the wrestling team that is number one and might be forever. I say that jokingly, but I'm really not
Have to.
joking.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
as long as Kale's there. Good luck. Good luck trying to
yeah,
even stay close to these guys.
exactly. But the point being is, I give a lot of credit to the administration. They've done a good job marketing this as well.
Sure.
Not just the hockey game, but they offered combo ticket packages for this. They've gotten other sports in on the fun. I saw a video today where you mentioned Rocco Becht earlier, the new quarterback for the football team.
Yeah, I
He
saw
did a
that
little
too.
video where he walked up to his locker and there's hockey pads and skates in it, and he's like, Coach Campbell didn't say anything about this. So they're pushing it all in on this. I think they've done a really good job. Even
Yeah.
down to the allowing fans to skate
Yeah.
on the ice in
Yeah.
sub-zero weather. They've done a great job. I think this is going to bring a lot of money into the university and the community, and I absolutely believe this is something they'd like to do again. Basketball, like you said, it's in a rough spot right now. Who knows what the future of this program looks like? It may or
Yeah.
may not be with Mike Rhodes, and the same goes for the women's team, which is also winless in the Big Ten. Uh, there's there's a lot to be determined and decided on those fronts. I think I don't know if we want to get into all that right now,
Yeah.
but I think this weekend is an excellent,
Yeah.
excellent opportunity for Penn State, and I really do. I give them props. I think they've capitalized on it.
Yeah, and despite the conditions are going to be pretty frigid, but I mean, I could see this is an event, right? This is something
Mm,
that you talked about how good the hockey team is. You talked about their marquee player who could absolutely be on a short list of contenders to go number one overall. He is that good. I just think, and it's also, it's a showcase for both hockey programs. Just because of this opportunity, it's going to get more eyes on Penn State's men's and women's hockey, and it's also that they're doing this $700 million renovation for a reason. They don't want Beaver Stadium to just be used 6 or 7 times a year. In addition to concerts, sporting events are definitely in play, and they're going to try and make that work. So this is something that's definitely not going to go away. It's hard to have outdoor events in January for obvious reasons, but if anyone can relish a cold weather hockey game at Beaver Stadium in January, it's Pennsylvania fans, because they're used to it, especially Penguins fans and Flyers fans. So I just hope it goes off as smoothly as it possibly can, because I commend Penn State and Pat Kraft and everyone that kind of went into decided to do this. It's a great idea. I hope it's here to stay, if not every year, every other year, because I think it's something to look forward to, especially in a year where Penn State's football season just didn't go anywhere near according to plan.
Yeah, with you 100%. But thank you guys for those questions. Those were good. Man. Love having the questions to answer on this live show. Again, we're here every Thursday. We're going live still here at about 12:34 on January 29th. Bob, to wrap this thing up, we promised at the top of the show we'd talk at least a little bit about the Senior Bowl and our colleague Johnny McGonigal, who is out there covering it right now. He's done some interesting work with, I know he's talked to Dennis Sutton. I think he's talking to Katron Allen today, Nick Singleton as well. All those guys are doing good stuff. Yeah. I think one thing that I've seen online that surprises me, not at all, I messed up how I wanted to say that, but doesn't surprise me at all, is that Katron Allen is really wowing people and with his vision and just his ability to make plays. I think anyone who watched him all year knows that. But it's a great contingent, even though it's a disappointing year. Penn State's going to have a lot of guys drafted, and the Senior Bowl is a great place to raise their stock.
Yeah, I have a couple things. So James Franklin's going to catch a stray here. It just makes me a little bit angrier about the timeshare at the start of the year. And this kid is, like I said before, I think when you look at him as the program's all-time leading rusher and you look at all the great names on that list, he is not that far away from some of these players. I think he is only going to get better. And if he goes to the right team with the right running system, because he is very good at a couple of things, specifically in terms of getting downhill. He is way, way more athletic and way, way more elusive than I think a lot of teams, probably NFL teams, realized at the start of the year. He is showing out in Mobile, Alabama. At the end of the year, I would not have taken many more running backs in college over Katron. I just think the way that he runs, how hard he plays, how hard he's worked to get to this point, it's a great story. I love his personality, and I am just glad that he is maximizing this opportunity. I mean, I think he is. I think he's a top 100 player now, and that might. I believe that. I don't think he's a 4th round player. I think he is. I think he's a day 2 player for sure. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to be a great pro. You mentioned Denai. I think Denai has made himself some money down there. He has continued what he did, during the last month or so of the season, not only in 2025, but in 2024. A special player at a special size. Venga Ioane is a 1st round pick. He just, I don't think he even qualifies for the game because of the rules, but special talent. I just want to say 2 more things. Zakeem Wheatley has also had a very good showing down there. And he's a guy, when you look at his size and what he can do, how he can cover, find the football in pass coverage, but also in run support. He's another guy that I would not be surprised. I don't know. You look at some of the safeties that have gone in round 2 or early in round 3. He is right there, man. He is a really, really good safety. Anthony Poindexter did a great job developing him, as did Terry Smith. Happy for him. I don't think he's going to wait very long to hear his name called. And just one other thing, that East-West Shrine game just reading some of the reports, I think Nolan Rucci had a really good week down there. I don't know that his senior season went according to his plan or Penn State's plan, but he was very good at the end of his 2024 season. There's a good football player in there somewhere. If you look at his size, if you look at the bloodline, if you look at the fact he was a 5-star player, he could be a guy, Penn State fans and Max Ralph, that could go fairly late in this draft. I'm talking day 3, somewhere in there, and he could turn out to be a really, really good player. I'm going to use 2 parallels. One is Will Fries, who actually is a guard, but just got paid. Because the other is Rasheed Walker. Rasheed Walker was a high 4, 5-star talent when he came to Penn State. His best football he played, I think, when it was early in his career. He did not finish, I think, the way that he wanted to. But he is also he's played very well for the Packers, Max. I think as a Bears fan, I mean, you probably can recognize the fact he's pretty solid. And he's about to make a lot of money in the NFL. He just needs to make sure what he can and cannot take to airports, and he's going to be fine.
I was wondering if you were going to get to that.
Oh, I'm going there, man. In jest, but not really.
Yeah, no, that's a slippery slope, but no, good comparisons. Nolan Rucci has the frame, without a doubt, and we've seen him play at an unbelievably elite level. We've also seen him struggle. I mean, that's just the truth. A team's got to fall in love with him. But we're looking at a group of Penn State players who like it could be double digits drafted this year.
Yeah, Max. I was looking at that and I was thinking like optimum best case. You know, if you want to say, hey, is Khalil Dinkins going to get drafted? And I think the athlete that he is, I think that he probably will. I think 9 or 10 Nittany Lions is certainly under the discussion. If a couple more players had either stayed healthy and come out, or Anthony Donko had chosen to come out, you know, they could have been closer to a dozen. And they also had some really good players leave, and then that could have, you know, if Harris had a good year for Penn State, I think he would not be at Indiana in the fall. I think he's probably in the draft. I thought all along, best case, and I think you did too, it was a lot closer to a dozen or maybe more that could have been drafted. Also, I think Zane Durant has had a pretty good Senior Bowl week. I watching him play in the fall, I thought there were some things that there's sometimes things he's really good at, Max, but he's not a guy that I'm not sure that he's an every down defensive tackle at his size, but I hope he proves me wrong.
No, I think that's the right take on Zane. Zane is a really hard worker, was a great leader for Penn State, but he didn't play his best football this year. And I think that teams in the NFL are going to realize that he's not an every down guy. His draft stock might reflect that. I think he's absolutely going to get drafted. I don't think I have any concerns with that. It might just be in a later round. I think he absolutely also has an NFL future. But Zane Durant is an intriguing guy who has to kind of fit a certain mold at the next level. You know, he's not Aaron Donald, and not very many people are, but he's at least kind of the similar size and skill set to an extent. So, you know, there is room for Zane to succeed. The other thing is, like, there might be 9 guys drafted. I could probably name 5 guys off the roster that have a really good chance at sticking around on a UDFA deal. This is a talented group. There's a reason why they were picked to win the national title entering the season. And, you know, that's way out the window. We know that, but there is still a chance for them to go make themselves some money. And the Senior Bowl with those 5 guys, Singleton, Allen, Dennis Sutton, Wheatley, and Durant, they're doing a good job of it, and they'll certainly they'll be drafted.
Yeah, we didn't mention Drew Aller. We didn't mention Nick Dawkins. We didn't mention Drew Shelton. So it's going to be a robust class, a robust draft class that could be a little bit larger than maybe fans realize. But you just have to remember, if you go back to August and you think about some of the players we're talking about, all of them were no doubt about it draft guys. The only question was, how high would they go? We didn't mention Nick Singleton. He's going to get drafted. He's going to be one of the more polarizing players in the draft.
Team's going to fall in love with him.
Yep. And I could easily see double digits for sure. Tony Rojas stays healthy. Anthony Donko has he could have easily came out. This could have been a really big class, and we'll just have to let it play out. It should be an interesting Max Pro Day, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. You and I both have to survive this weekend in State College. You stay warm, and I'll try and do the same.
Yeah. Before I send this out, I got to say one name you mentioned, Drew Shelton. I'm a little shocked that he's not at the Senior Bowl because he's been just a steady Eddie, to steal a James Franklinism.
Oh, that is a James. That's a Franklin one. Good one.
Yeah, to steal a Franklinism. He just was so consistent over his career. There were flashes of greatness. There were flashes of below average, but the guy was solid for 4 years, started as a true freshman in the Big Ten. He's got the size. I think he's absolutely going to be probably a top half of the draft guy so I'm surprised he's not at the Senior Bowl. But yeah, you're right. Double digits are going to happen. Unlike the weather this weekend in State College, if you're going up to the hockey game, you're probably looking at single digits for the temperature there. But this has been a great live blue-white breakdown here on Thursday afternoon. Bob Flounders, thanks for joining us while Johnny McGonigal's out in Mobile. Make sure you're following along with all of Johnny's coverage. We've got stuff on the Penn State schedule on the site. We're getting wrestling and hockey. Lots going on. Subscribe. Follow the show on YouTube, and we'll catch you next time.